what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Call the Damn Lead, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drewbie Wilson, with more than 2 decades in sales. I've been through it, seen it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community, because let's be honest, sales is the greatest career you can have. No matter what background, what personality, what you're selling, you can be massively successful if you're willing to do the work and call the damn leads. Today's guest, someone who has years of experience in the industry, who has turned his success into an entire lifestyle of helping other sales professionals become successful in their own journey. He's my new friend and someone that's going to bring massive value to today's show. Mr. Nick Loise, how are you, brother?
Oh man, I'm doing awesome. First off, thank you for all you're doing. What you said is so critical in the beginning. You know, it is the best profession out there. We want people to be better. I love the message that you're doing. I love all the work you're doing. I love your style and your swag. I grew a beard because I knew I was going to be on this and I wanted to be hip and cool like you. And
Come
so,
on.
first off, thank you for all you're doing and kind of carrying the message and just making sales better, right? I love it.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate you taking time out of your day to be here with us. I want to jump right in. I mean, you were talking before we had the call. You've got years of experience in this industry. You've worked with thousands of sales professionals. I want to know your craziest sales story right off the rip.
Well, you're going right for the big stuff. So,
Come on.
I think the craziest story are always the most fun story. It's the deal that is won that you thought was lost, right? Or the having to go and collect on the deal when I owned my first business, which was an agency. I owned a direct response agency. And so, we were selling people left and right? And it was in 2008, 2006, we started it. I thought I was the smartest guy in the world. We were heavy into home improvement, home services, right? 2008, 2009, I realized I wasn't that bright because that world blew up. And I had a client that owed me a shit ton, and I'm okay with dropping words like that on this because I'm sure
Sure.
you have no filter. Hopefully, there's no children in the back where you're filming, but owed us a lot. So in essence, I camped out in front of his building and then in his vestibule, right? It was a large closet manufacturer, and waited until they gave me a check. I needed that check, right? I had to pay down my line of credit. I had employees to be paid. So, the craziest is sometimes it's not, and I'm using this to teach, it's not getting the sale, it's getting paid, right? And I learned it from Robert Ringer, right? If that goes back, that's a name that goes back from the 70s and the 80s. It's not making the sale, it's getting the check. The sale is great, but until the credit card is processed in today's day and age, back in the day, until the check is delivered and is mailed and processes it through, right? Because in the old days, they could put stop payments on checks. That is the most important thing. And I think if any of your listeners want to be entrepreneurs as well as really, really good salespeople, and I think that's a phenomenal journey, and I think everybody should try it, at least get bloodied by the marketplace a little bit. It's all about collecting the check. It's all about getting paid. And I think in this day and age, especially in like the high ticket sales and all that, great careers, great training, good people doing it. But a lot of people are selling on payment plans that are elongated forever, and they're never going to get that. So they're saying, oh yeah, I'm putting up 50, 60, $100,000 in sales. What are you collecting is what I care about, right? What is the cash hitting the bank? Because really as a salesperson, you're your own boss. Somebody else may be providing the leads. Somebody else may be creating the environment or the products you're taking to the marketplace, but you're your own boss. And really, as your own boss, you got to manage your cash flow, right? Just this morning, I'm looking at clients. There's some clients we sell for, right? And so I get on the phone because I got to keep good. I got to keep my skills sharp. I got to be able to do what I do and say what I say and teach what I teach by doing it every day. I'm like, okay, where are we at with, who's not paying? Who owes me commissions? What are the commissions for my teams? Because I got to be aggressive on collecting that for my teams also. And so I think that's equally as important, right? It's the getting the sale, getting the skill, but then using that to get the money because it doesn't happen until the money's in the bank. How's
Ooh,
that?
Nick, I can't wait to cut that one up and leave it on the Reels game because that's the truth. Here's what this is why the last part of my whole calls process, which is what I teach people, like making calls, is secure the bag. I've met so many people that are great closers and they're always got this deal closed and that deal closed, but then you're like, okay, but where's the money? So, well, that's coming next week. We're working on it. It's like, okay, but I thought he was closed. No, no, no. The closed ain't till the cash register rings and that money gets deposited and it's in your hands. That is so important. And I really think a lot of sales professionals, they never get to that point of even asking for the sale. They're great at building rapport, they're great at having conversations, but as you mentioned, getting that check, getting paid, and then being able to pay out, that's what drives the needle forward. And as a sales professional, your commissions depend upon that. So I love that second part that you mentioned about great entrepreneurs that are running on payment plans. And there's nothing wrong with MRR, right? Like recurring
Yeah,
revenue
yeah.
is a great thing to have. Every business should have some of it, but you can't base your entire success on the contract value if you're only collecting a monthly payment, because as Nick said, there's no guarantee that contract gets fulfilled. And I'm gonna be straight with y'all, I've been in industries and worked with companies. If you try to go after those peanuts that people didn't want to pay you, it's never worth it. Those collection agencies, they take you for everything. They think they say it just isn't worth going after the people. So you want to get paid in full in every opportunity that you can, or make sure that you've structured yourself in a way that you have a good balance. Because I've also seen agencies that blow up overnight and they get 20, 30 clients and they're on that MRR and they're thinking they're big, but they don't realize that that's 12 months worth of money, not right now money. So they're spending it all before it's even in the bank. And I kind of got off on tangent on that, Nick, but it's one of those things that I've seen that. So I love how you brought it up. Get paid, secure the bag.
I love that phraseology, and that's so spot on, right? And I think, and listen, this business is really simple, but it's not easy, right?
Hmm.
And I think the last part that you just put down there, which is secure the bag, get the check, is the most critical part, right? And I think people have to really be comfortable with that because that's really what a salesperson is. It's getting the money, right? It's exchanging the check for the value. And, listen, it's all about that. And, we don't have to dwell on it because I think what you said is so critical. And I think it's important for people to learn. So that's why I opened up with that, right? And did I want to go and sit in a lobby for a day? No. Did I need to? Yeah. Is that my role as the owner? Yes. But it's also your role as the salesperson. One of the best salespeople I had with me when I was at GKIC was maniacal about getting the money. I never had to worry, right? We had 3 people collecting on past due credit cards, right? Because at any given moment, there's a certain percentage of credit cards, especially on the MRR, which you're talking about, that are going to go bad because one is somebody bought something online, it was in China, now they've got, fraud, right? Or it expired and they just didn't call you with the new number, right? So there's a lot of reasons. Some of it are ethical and some of it they know what they're doing, right? But he was maniacal. And it's like I used him for all salespeople. And now in our sales agency side in our business, it's part of the salesperson's process. And I think it's Drewbie, and I want to know your point on this because you're so smart on this stuff, is I think it's a weak salesperson that won't get on to get the money. I think it's a
Oof.
weak salesperson.
I think it makes them an order taker, not a salesperson. So there's that
Valid.
difference between someone who can take an order and take payments and just like, you want this? Great, I can help you with that. That's easy. A salesperson is someone who can help. I'm going to use the term persuade, but I'm going to use it in the terminology of good, right? Because you can persuade people to do bad things, but
Sure.
when you're persuading someone to make a good decision and you're influencing to help them move through that problem, because most of the time, the biggest roadblock that anyone is dealing with is themselves. So if you can help
Yeah.
influence someone and persuade them to get out of their own way to make the decision that's going to get them the result that they're looking for, getting out of the pain or into the pleasure, then that makes you a sales professional. So Nick, I think you're right. I think it's a weak salesperson that is afraid to get on and collect the money, which is really just an order taker. And I've met some amazing order takers. We need order takers. Granted, McDonald's and Taco Bell and just about every fast food got rid of them and put up a kiosk. So, kind of think about that. If that's your profession of order taking, maybe think how you can become a sales professional, which is why we're here. And Nick, I want to ask you, because this is a great segue into my next question. For you and your years of experience, if you had to pick one thing that you would say is kind of like your sales superpower or like your secret weapon, what would you say that is?
It's your mantra. I've never been afraid to get on the phone. I've never been afraid to call the leads, right? And I think I don't know if it's a superpower. I don't know, or I don't know if I was just really dumb when I first started, right? Got hired right out of college, went through a management training program, told them I wanted to end up in sales. They said, sure, 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 sure. When it came time to the final assignment, they're like, okay, we don't put people your age in sales. You have to do a couple of years of grunt work. I said, no, I want to go into sales. So I actually took a commission only sales job because I'm like, if I'm going to swim, I'm going to swim. And I didn't know any better. So they give you scripts, they did training, they helped you with leads. You had to go surface your own leads in those days. And all I knew was to call the leads, right? And I would just pound the phone in a cubicle with the dial phone. There was a push button. I made the investment to buy a headset, right? This is before a CRM, Drewbie. I'm on, it's the one card system. I'm on index cards. But, listen, I saw guys that were slicker, had better hair, were from bigger schools. This was in the financial services. They talked a great game, but they could never pick up the phone and they were gone. And I didn't know any better. So I just dialed the phone. I got good on the script. I got good on building rapport. I got good on framing stuff. I got good on moving things through. I heard a shit ton of objections because of the fact that, when you do a lot of reps, you hear a lot of things. And I learned, okay, if they say this, I got to say this. And we just move people through. And it was phenomenal, right? Then we got smart and we called the leads, but then we also did a lot of really good marketing stuff to get leads into the system, doing seminars. We had automated dialers in the day. These were cassettes that we would run at night and dial people back in the days when you could just randomly call people. But, then we started going B2B. And so I didn't know any better. And so I just did it. And they told me to do it and I just did it. And I just got better at the script. I remember it was our first training program, one of the first training events, and the general agent, the big guy came, the general manager of this came, and he's like, okay, let's do the script. And no one could do it. I did it, but he said, hey, you did it. You're the only one that could do it. Did it too fast. Now you got to work on your tonality. You got to work on your pacing, right? And so now you start getting better at different things and nuances, and you make the script your own. And so I think that's my, if you want to call it a secret sauce, my superpower, whatever it is, it's just not being afraid to call. I'll still pound through a list. I'll still pick up the phone and cold call. And you realize, do you want to do it? No, but you got to do it, right? But sure, we'd all love to be order takers, making big banks, taking pictures in front of rented Ferraris and, Airbnbs that we rented for the hour. But you got to grind out the business and you got to do the business. But most importantly, you got to do what you teach people to do is get really good at skills. Right? Skills and drills and thinking things through and getting better and learning scripts and getting better at scripts and using memes to cut through, and all the stuff that you teach people is the important stuff.
I really appreciate that. And what I think is so beautiful about it is the simplicity. As you said, sales is simple, but it's not easy, right? If you were to go to the gym and hire someone to help you lose weight, they're going to tell you, cool, it's a simple process. We're going to burn more calories than we take in. How we do
Sure.
that could vary. We might do some cardio. We might do some weightlifting. We might, kind of depends on how you move, what your style is. And I love what you said about taking a script, memorizing it, and understanding that your job is simply to understand the foundation of the conversation, because you're going to have your own style. You're going to have your own nuance, and you're not a robot. It's funny to think about playing the tapes on the recordings and making the late night calls, fast forwarding to now where it's literally like an AI tool that's making the calls for us. So there's no more tapes, but it's the same process of like a fake voice just calling and having a conversation with someone who's not there. Beautiful how this is so cyclical. And I'll touch on that because I think this is a great point. I mean, you said it before we got on the call. You've been in sales since the 90s. before the internet, before cell phones, before how it was easy to just get in front of someone, and also before as much noise, in my opinion, as there was back then. So, what would you say is kind of your key to staying relevant and staying in front of your prospects so that you can continue to have those sales conversations?
Well, I think it's being, you said it earlier, and I think it's spot on, right? Adding value, right? So whatever industry you're in, you got to know it. And it's a chess game, and you got to be 5 steps ahead, right? You're playing 3-dimensional chess. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but you got to know what's going on in the industry and how can you provide value for people? How do you provide good content? How do you really be a problem solver? I think you use that phraseology. So what's going on in their business or in their personal lives, right? So if they're a B2C sale, right, or B2B, I spend a lot of my time in the B2B world. What's going on, right? Okay, yeah, I want to start a business. Okay, why? Why is that? What's going on? Well, I always want to be my own boss. Well, go 18 steps deep, right? Cut the onion. And it's really, I haven't saved enough money in retirement. I'm afraid, right? I'm not providing for my family. I feel like a failure as a man or a woman or whatever that is. And so you got to go deep. You got to figure out what's going on. And I think it's the true professionals don't get distracted by the noise. The tools will always be there, right? And you got to embrace them, and you got to embrace technology, and you got to test, right? I'm a direct response guy, so you test stuff over and over and over again. But it's all really about people, right? And it's about the same way it happened 2,000 years ago in the marketplace. I had a need. I needed a chicken for dinner. I wanted to go out and find the best chicken for dinner. And so I just figured out a way to do it. And I worked with people. And it's the same way, right? People want to buy from people. They want to buy from people that know, like, and trust them. That's never going to go away unless you're buying a pen like this, right? I don't need to know the person at Gillette that created that pen. But when you're talking about the nuance of stuff, especially if people are selling certain products and services, financial services, a car, whatever that is, why? What's the why of why people are buying, and how does this solve their problem, and how do we make it work, right? And how do we make it work together? You're on the same side of the table. I think too much of the bro mentality is you got to fight with prospects, and it's never worked for me. Maybe it works for other people, but it's never worked for me. And it's like, okay, where do you want to go? Let's see if I have something to get you there. Let's work together to get you there, and realizing that we're on this journey together. Let's take this journey together.
I love that. And there's something that you said there that I want to touch on that I think is very important. The bro mentality in sales, the alpha sales mentality, the top producer, the in your face, grind it out, gotta be, flash, this, that. I get it. I've been that person. I've lived that lifestyle. I've worn that mask. And also, I'm more of a laid back, kind of a chill. I like to smoke meat. I like to make memes, right? I like to hang out. I'm more of a laid back sales professional. And one of the things that I personally struggled with early on was feeling as though I had to be able to play in both worlds. And it caused some dissonance in my personal branding and my personal marketing, which actually made me sell less because there was confusion in myself. And again, when you're talking about know, like, and trust, if you're personally not having 100% confidence in the conversation you're having or in the approach you're using, your prospects will know that. And so I've seen so many of the alpha sales mentalities. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. You see them, they're hardcore, in your face. I've worked with many of them over the years. What I learned for me is when I settled back into who I am, what I'm about, and my whole purpose, and accepted the fact that I don't have to do business with everyone that has a credit card and a pulse, I found that my clientele improved, my life improved, I had way less stress, and there were less people constantly asking me to validate them and their alpha mentality and style, because that's how it works. And so I love that you said that, Nick, because as a sales professional, and I hope the listener is really taking this in, when you embrace who you are and your authentic journey, your stories, and you share that with your prospect, it makes you an extremely valuable part of their journey. And that's what allows them to make a good decision, because you're not making them do anything they don't want to do. You're helping them do the thing that they knew they wanted to do from the start. And they're trusting you because you're living as the example.
I think you're spot on, right? And I think about all the teams that I manage, right? So you kind of the evolution, right? So a sales professional, then you go into sales management or leadership if that's something that you want to do. Realizing you could probably make more staying as a sales professional and have a better quality of life. But we all make this, we always make decisions, and then entrepreneurs. And the best salespeople I ever worked with, the best salespeople that ever worked for me, the best salespeople that I ever rode along with or competed with were themselves.
Mm.
Were truly themselves. They were grounded in who they were. They had real conversations with people. And I think sometimes females do this a little bit better than males, right? And I want to raise the flag to get more females into sales. And because I just think that they listen better, they intuitively understand, they're problem solvers, they're multitaskers just because of the fact that, the bulk of the time they have to be. So, I think if people listening, just be yourself, right? And there's only one of you, and that's your authentic brand. I think Drewbie, I appreciate you having the safeness to say, hey, listen, it cost me. It cost me some stuff. It cost me who I was. It cost me some sales. I didn't like myself, right? And I think that's the most important thing. You got to like yourself. You got to like the skill that you do, right? You got to work at it just like a professional athlete works at it every day. You got to do this and work at it every day and just be yourself. And because there's nobody else like you. And people realize when you're bullshitting them.
Yeah, they sure do. And that's one of the things that I love about sales is that you can be very you can be very honest, be very direct. And at this point, especially in 2024 and beyond, I'm sure, people's bullshit meter is through the roof. So the sooner you push past that and just show up as yourself, the better. Nick, I have had an absolutely amazing time. I'm sure we could sit and nerd out together for hours and hours, but I want to be respectful of your time. I want to be respectful of the listeners' time. If they had some value out of this show, first and foremost, I'm going to remind you, go share it. Tag us on social media. Tell your friends and family. Send it to a sales guy that needs some help. That's what this show is all about, is helping and providing value. Nick, if they enjoyed what you had to say, where can they come learn about you and what you have going on? I know you offer some different things, some great value and all that. How can they come and find you and learn about what you do?
Yeah, so I think the easiest way is, hit me up on LinkedIn. We've got a bunch of freebies. I provide a huge amount of content. So go to salesperformanceteam.com. On that, you're going to get into our email list. We're going to give you a lot of downloads. I've got a couple books that you get an ebook for. We're always trying to figure out, what's happening in today's sales world. LinkedIn is a good place. Facebook's okay, right? You can hook me up there. Full transparency, I'm probably on LinkedIn more, and I probably manage that more. On the gram, I use that for personal and family stuff, right? So I'm not doing a lot of there. Those are the best ways to do it. You could check out salesperformanceteam.com. But most importantly, share this with somebody and just absorb everything that Drewbie's done, right? That book is awesome. Get the swag. I love it, right? So hit up his store, and if you like me, we could have a conversation. And if you're struggling with something, right? Listen, sales, I've been around a long time. I know salespeople struggle with stuff, a lot of stuff. And so if you ever had that struggle, just let me know. There's a no judgment, and I'm always willing to talk. So
Nick, I really, really appreciate that, man. Has been an honor to meet you, get to know more of your story. And I know if the listener takes you up on that opportunity to jump on your list, to absorb some of that value, they're just going to keep learning, keep growing, and keep finding success, which is why we built the show, which is why we put this together. Now, before we get out of here, I'm going to ask you one last quick question. Let's say there's someone new to sales, right? That's what I love about this industry. Always someone new coming in. Let's say they just showed up. Maybe this is their first day, first week, first month in sales, and they want to be successful. If you can give them one piece of advice to live on, what would it be?
Listen to Drew's show. Second is find out who the top producer is in their office. And don't be cheap. Buy them dinner, buy them lunch, buy them coffee, and learn from them. But go back to what we've talked about here is be yourself and take from what others that you've learned and incorporate in your deal. Learn the phone because nobody else will do it, right? So just be really good at giving good phone. I heard that once from somebody. I think it was Stan Ballou that sent me a t-shirt that says I give good phone, right? So don't be afraid to call the leads, pick up the phone, interact with people. and realizing there's an ESPN thing that I saw this weekend by a female basketball coach, and I love her things. You got to do the hard better, right? We all think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to be easy. I want it to be easy. It isn't easy. I've learned this from my mentors, people that own businesses, right? We always have a little bit of fear. It's always going to be hard. Learn to do the hard better and just grind it out. And that will give you the confidence to do it over and over and over again. If you're on a car dealership, don't be hanging out with the guys that barely move 2 products a day, right? Go find the guy that's moving a shit ton and get in his orbit and learn from them and watch what they do. And that's the best advice I'd give everybody, right? Start coming a little early, stay a little late, study, listen to podcasts like this, get books like Drewbie's books, get other sales books. This is your profession. I got into sales and I knew I wanted to be in sales day one, right? I think I was born that way. Many people aren't wired like me, but I viewed it as a profession. In the old days, it would be a cassette. Nowadays, you're listening to it on your phone, you're plugging it through. Listen to stuff every day. There's so many great podcasts. Start with Call the Damn Leads, but there's great content out there. Become a student of the game, but use it. And use it for good, right? Drewbie said something in the beginning that I'm really going to focus back on. One is you got to get the money. So focus on getting the money and focus on persuasion, but persuasion for good, right? And that's all about the intent. You want to help people. This is still a business that is business to business, but person to person. And it's all about helping somebody solve a problem.
I love it, Nick. That is fantastic. Thank you for so much wisdom. Thank you for your time. You heard it here, guys and gals. If you enjoyed this, go subscribe, share it, leave us a review, do all the things that you would want someone to do if they got value working with you. Make sure you go check out Nick. I can't wait to get more of his content. I love learning every day. I recognize I can continue to grow. I can continue to learn, which is why I'm doing this show for you so that you can learn and grow with us. So, Nick, thank you. Those of you that are here, you know what to do. Go call the damn leads. And again, if you have a story, you want to jump on, you want to share some value, you want to do some amazing things to this world and make an impact, callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us a message. We'd love to have you on the show. We'll see you next time.